welcome to the Learning has Changed list, the web series where I get to tackle all the things that I would like to learn how to change in education with a community of reflective practice vloggers in order to create an engine for authentic learning. Today I have the pleasure of responding to Brendan Murphy and something I thought that was really provocative that he said in his vlog about rhizomatic learning. He was talking about it and he got really into the idea that rhizomatic learning is very much like plants and tending plants, and that's where the metaphor comes from of being a rhizomatic organism. But he took it to the idea that you can only go in depth if you provide constraints. And there are a couple of people who have talked about this a little bit, but I really hadn't considered just how much we can constrain and free at the same time. And so I want to let him speak for himself, and I want to think through that idea of providing constraints for learners to allow them to go deeply, but also allowing freedom. So here is how he put it.
And in my learning online and in my growth online, it tends to be very sporadic and very shallow. I learn about a lot of things, but I don't really get deep into them. So I wanted to get deeper into something. Being connected and finding people to learn from is not the difficult part. The difficult part for me is staying focused on that learning. To encourage deep learning in myself and others, we really need to define our boundaries.
There have been a number of studies done recently on innovation and what produces the best kinds of innovation. And in a lot of these studies, they end up looking at constraints and putting boundaries around someone's idea generation. And one of my favorite studies is about generating ideas of objects that are white. And if I give you that sort of very free concept, generate as many objects that are white that you possibly can within the next 30 seconds. You will come up with a good list of things. But that's a very free exercise. Now, if I told you to generate a list of objects that are white in your refrigerator, or a list of objects that are white in your bedroom, by giving you that extra constraint, it allows you to have a mental map of where you are going. It allows you to understand, okay, I am thinking about a refrigerator and then all of the things that are white within that. And you'll probably be able to generate almost double the amount that you had generated in that first list. So by providing very specific constraints, but not necessarily ones that are detrimental to innovation and to creation, I am allowing you to create more. And I think that is what we were talking about here. I think that is what we are trying to build, is what are the constraints that provide for more learning rather than less? What are the constraints that provide for more depth rather than less? And as we build out an environment that has a freedom about it, but also the constraints to go deeply into it, I think that's something that we can change. We can change what are the constraints. So rather than putting artificial constraints, like the number of hours that you have to be in a seat in order to learn, we can place creative constraints, like the number of words that you are going to use to create a story, like in the 6-word story. By choosing very carefully and generating new ideas in each one of those words, you can build an entire world and then jump off from there. To me, those are the most interesting pieces, right? What are the ones that are going to help us build the future of education? Those generative constraints. If you have ideas for what you think are constraints that allow for depth, rather than constraints that are artificial, please leave them in the comments. I'd also like you to join in on the Google Plus community or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching.